Greetings, children of the screen, your friendly neighborhood nerd scum here, and once again it is time for us to take a look into the diseased and debaucherous world of the Crossed. Today we're going to be taking a look at the book that introduced me to the franchise, being Cross Plus 100 Issue 1. This volume is written by Alan Moore, with art by Gabriel Andrade, colors being handled by Digicore Studios? I think that's the right way to say that, with the letters being handled by James Reed. We open on archivist Future Taylor, who will not only act as our main character, but also as a structural device, utilizing her journal entries. In it, she writes, July 12th, 2108. We've lost so much. In the wishful fiction books I find, there's our idea of how things are gonna be. We've lost that too. As her name would indicate, she's an archivist or a historian, and we are currently finding her on a run bossed by Robbie Greer, a badass dude whose entire body is horribly scarred, the rest of the group being comprised of Keller, Cautious, Hope, and Forward. While on this run, they are keeping an eye out for general needs. Their main goal is the acquisition of information about the world before the surprise, as the initial outbreak has now become known, in an attempt to put together a comprehensive history of the world as it was and how it fell. They've been to the ruins of 7 cities without much luck but for a ledger they came across in Tulmahoma, but finally in Columbia they find what they're looking for, a library. Taylor and Keller enter the library, finding everything from science fiction to science fact to an Islamic studies section, but they're interrupted by, at first, the sound, and then the appearance of the Crossed. At first it's just one, but when Keller opens fire on it, suddenly more appear. From outside, Robbie hurries to the commotion and rushes in, telling Taylor that he'll handle this. He dispatches them all with ease, but finds one more lying on the floor, an infant, and he puts it down with ease too. Crossed are crossed, and there's a reason he's the boss. These are the first infected that Taylor has seen. They were told that the Crossed had all but died out south of the Mason-Dixon. Sure, she's read about them and seen them in old videos, but this? Alive, in the flesh, a pack, and seemingly protecting their young was very different. They all get cleaned up to reduce the chance of infection spreading and settle down for the night. The next day they will head for Jackson. The next day in Jackson, they make their way towards the church where people would have taken refuge. Inside they find many skeletons and something strange. A sort of makeshift shrine surrounded by candles and sugar, with a framed picture of a man taken from an old magazine or book. But as they're investigating, they hear the sound of the Crossed once more, moving through the streets towards them, taking up arms and readying themselves. The Crossed quickly run into sight, but pass them without a second glance, yelling something amongst themselves. But just as they have time to question this, a ginormous pack of wild wolves tears through the city ruins. Slamming the church doors shut, they find a back way out and navigate back to their rig. However, upon reaching it, they find what is left of Forward after the wolves got done with him. They bury what's left and settle down for the night. Over dinner they talk in circles about finding this many nests and that it must mean more Crossed are breeding. This saddens Taylor, so she smokes a little bit of bud and tries to go through what they found that day, but she just keeps getting stuck on that framed picture till it gives her the creeps and she retires to the top of the rig to look at the stars. In her journal she writes, "Stars are wishful fiction. Always there. Fuck white. Fuck clean. No surprises for the stars. No infection either. Oh fuck. More later." And that is where this issue leaves us. Right on, guys. Well, as for the writing in this issue, it is superb, and you would think that'd be a given with Alan Moore writing, but I've also read his issues of Spawn, Youngblood, and Wildcats, so trust me when I say this man is not above writing for a paycheck. But here, even if it's not at his fullest capacity, you can still clearly see the effort put in. The first issue has some excellent world building, considering that all the information that we glean is given to us through casual conversations between the members of the group and their reactions to the environment around them. We learn that their primary fuel source is coal, that amongst the surviving remnants of humanity there are those who are becoming environmentally cautious, thinking that coal is destroying the ozone. We see them reflecting on the weather and also attributing the harshness of it to the actions of the humans before the surprise. even suggesting that the Crossed outbreak itself may be a way of Mother Earth cleansing herself of the plague of the human race. The casualness of such conversations also gives us a bit of insight into their social structure. Despite the world they live in being so divergent from ours, their social structures and interactions seem more or less comparable to our own. And despite the broken and changed nature of language, these interactions also give us insight into these individual characters, which manages to make them not only engaging, but in some ways easier to empathize with than many of the characters we're introduced to in other volumes of the franchise. The setup of this group traveling from ruined city to city, trying to piece together the history of the human race, not only does an excellent job of setting up the situation that will allow for an escalation of tension, but also goes a long way to making this the more cerebral, thoughtful take on the material that they were aiming for. The artwork for this issue is also extremely good. The characters in the world are all rendered distinctly without going over the top in that way that some post-apocalyptic character designs and locations can. The intricate line work blends beautifully with the colors, creating a washed out but yet still green and lively world of ruin, perfectly setting the tone and the reality of the world in which these characters inhabit. If I had to complain about anything in this first issue, it would be that sometimes with the characters that are a little younger but still closer in age, it's a little hard to distinguish exactly how old they're supposed to be. However, I don't really hold this against the artist, as this is something that I find to be an issue in many comic books and can be attributed to any number of factors. All in all, this is an excellent start to a new chapter in an awesome franchise that is attempting to give us everything we love about it, while also attempting to forge a new path in dealing with this subject matter. And based on this first issue, I would say that they succeeded admirably. Right on, children of the screen, there you have it, issue 1. Now, I know that was a little bit brief, mostly because this first issue is a lot of setup, a lot of getting to know the characters, and also I kind of omitted or kind of streamlined some things, because for those of you who've already read the book, you already know all those things, and for those of you who haven't read the book, I want to leave you something that you can discover for yourself when you go to check it out. I absolutely love this issue, and I absolutely love specifically this first volume, but Cross Plus 100 in of itself throughout like the entire run is a really solid book that I definitely recommend. Another thing that I wanted to mention was, because I kind of gave a little shit to Alan Moore about his young blood and all that stuff earlier, I want to recommend, it's completely different from Cross, so it might not be up everybody's alley, but if you like the work of Alan Moore, definitely check out his book Promethea. It's absolutely awesome. It flies under the radar quite a lot. Not very many people talk about it, but I personally believe that it is his undisputed masterpiece of comic books. A lot of people will say that that's Watchmen, a few other people say it's V for Vendetta, some people might say that it's Cross Plus 100, but for me, it's Promethea. Definitely go check that book out. And again, checked out Cross Plus 100 because it is absolutely awesome. The last thing I wanted to say is my intro and my outro on this video are re-records. I basically made a new intro and outro for it because, as some of you very well know, this video, despite how short it was and how little graphic violence and nudity is depicted in this first issue, you guys will know that thanks to the YouTube gods, I got hit with a content strike on my channel and had to go back and re-edit this whole thing. So again, I'm very sorry for the delay in it. Hopefully that won't be a case in the future installments of these videos, because I'm going to be going through and doing the proper censorship that has to be done in order for them to keep going without getting those similar strikes. And I also wanted, main reason actually though that I'm doing this is because I wanted to extend my gratitude to everybody who was so gracious about having to wait a little bit longer for this video and so understanding. Because in the past, whenever like I was covering weekly comics, you know, Batman, Superman, X-Men, all that kind of stuff, if I was a day off, I would get a barrage of just hate comments and just people like going nuts and stuff. So I really, really appreciate it, you guys. Thank you very, very much for your understanding, and thank you for checking out this video. As I've said previously, I have the next one filmed, and I'm going to get to editing it. However, again, my channel is not monetized, so I do actually have to get out and work for a living, so I will have that out as soon as I possibly can. Thank you guys very much. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and let me know down in the comments. In the future, would you like me to go a little bit more in depth into the story, or explore a little bit more of the character bits? Or are you good with having this kind of overarching kind of summary so that people who haven't read the book can kind of go in and check it out for themselves. Let me know down there below. Anyway, guys, I hope you all have a good one. Nerd Scum.